Is it on? Vision and mission of an organization. We'll look at goals and objectives. Then look at strategy. We all know that the business strategy steers the organization to its direction, particularly those that are contained in the strategic plan as outlined in the organization's mission. So, for example, if the organization decides to set up a direction where it wants to grow and become a winner and a leading company, there will be strategies. But execution strategy is done by employees. But these employees must possess necessary skills if they are to succeed in operationalizing the strategy to the advantage of the organization. It is against this background that this issue of human resource development is coming in, because when you want skills, you can only go to nowhere else except HRD. So HRD should be a full-fledged program within human resource department. And for us to understand it, let's see what it says. It's a long definition, but I've deliberately left it this way because I want you to follow through, because it's a very important section. Human resource development is a framework that helps employees develop their personal organizational skills, knowledge, and abilities. It plays a critical role in enhancing the overall performance and productivity of an organization by focus on continuous learning and development. HRD is essentially in today's rapidly changing business environment, where technological advancement and globalization demand are more skilled and adaptable. The context of HRD includes various practices such as training and development, career development, organizational development, and performance management. So, what we are trying to say here is, when we train our staff to acquire skills, to acquire knowledge, to acquire abilities, to pursue certain tasks that we give them, we know we are involved in human resource development. When we identify a particular career path for our employee, we know for sure that we are at that point operationalizing human resource development. When we conduct an activity where we identify the skills that are very essential and the extent to which we have them in the organization, and what we need to do if we don't have them, or what we need to do if we want to upskill. That's human resource development. So human resource development has an approach. There must be a way in which you as an organization styles HRD activities. So there is an approach for HRD. The approaching human resource development requires systematic strategic process that aligns the organization with organization, or that aligns the organization's goal while addressing the development needs of its workforce. So you see, this is the most important thing. It's not just about training, but it's about training that aligns very well with the mission and vision of the organization. That's why sometimes you find some conflicting things in organization where employees are just looking for training. But ultimately, sometimes it is discovered that the training that they are vying for has really nothing else to do with them as an institution in terms of the benefit of such training to the workforce, particularly in relation to leading the organization pursue its path, the attainment of the strategic goal, particularly the mission and vision. Okay. Effective HRD practices ensure that employees are equipped with necessary skills, knowledge, and competences to contribute to the success. So you can come up with a properly organized and systematic arrangement for employees to be trained. Sometimes you can train them on the job, sometimes you can send them to school, sometimes you can bring in a consultant to train them. Currently, because of the availability of online platforms, there is a number of training that is done virtually. So a structured approach ensures that HRD initiatives are comprehensive, targeted, and able to produce measurable outcomes. In other words, when you bring in this human resource development as a program in the organization, and then you train your staff, at the end of the day, you must be able to measure the impact. You must have a time where you can say, yes, this is what we wanted to do, but have we achieved it? For you to be able to come up with an effective HRD program, you need to use what we refer to as an ADDIE model, which stands for analysis, design, development, implementation, and evaluation. So what we'll do now is to look at the ADDIE model. That's what we'll do now. We'll look at each step of the ADDIE model as an HRD person. The ADDIE model starts with analysis. Okay. This analysis goes this way. This is the first level, organization analysis, where you're looking at, as an organization, based on our plan, our strategic plan. Okay, as an organization, based on the strategic plan that we have, let's conduct an analysis where we identify skills and competences required to meet the strategic goals. When you come up with a direction, you know, for us to be able to be there, here is where we are today. But for us to be there, we need people who have the following skills: computer skills, language skills, language and communication skills, computer skills, and then you are looking at we also need people with the writing skills, and then flexibility and courtesy, customer courtesy. So you have to define, people who are able to market, sales skills, people who are engineering skills, we all need these things. So you realize that when you sit down and begin to look at the skills that you need, then you say, do we have them? If we don't, what do we do? That's why we say that The organizational analysis examines factors such as organization's mission, vision, long-term objectives, and external environment. And on external environment, what you look at also seriously is the issue of macroenvironmental factors. For example, in this case, we're looking at the PESTEL. You all know what PESTEL is, isn't it? Political, economic, social factors. You look at them and you say, have we really equipped our staff? Have we equipped them enough to enable them be able to minimize weaknesses, develop strength, exploit the opportunities, and utilize threats? Our staff good enough to be able to utilize threats? You're looking at those things. You also are looking at task analysis, where you focus on the specific tasks and duties that employees perform in their roles. So you say, okay, as an organization, these are the skills that we need. But people at this level, they are going to be involved in tasks. So the tasks that they do when they come to work, do they possess the skills necessary for them to conduct those tasks? You're looking at it also from that angle. Okay. You focus on the specific tasks and duties that employees perform in their role. And here you identify the skills, knowledge, and behavior necessary to perform these tasks effectively. So you realize that from there you now look at not just the task but the individual, the actual person who comes into work. You assess the current skill level of individual employees. What skills does this individual employee have? What about this one? What about this one? What skills do they possess? And you identify gaps between the skills that they have and the requirements of their roles. You see the gap. From there, you are now able to design an HRD program. You have looked at the skill gap using analysis techniques, and then you are now thereafter expected now to come up with the design. So once the analysis is complete, the next phase is design, and in this phase, HR professionals create a blueprint for the HRD programs that will address the identified needs and the design phases involved. So it starts with what? Setting learning objectives, where you define clearly measurable objectives that HRD programs aim to achieve. Okay? And the objectives of the trainings must not just be generic, but must be those that target. I call them targeted interventions. They must be interventions targeted. So, for example, you can come up with workshops, okay, as a learning strategy. You can come up with on-the-job training. You can come up with e-learning. You can come up with the simulations or mentorship. On the simulation, I'll give you an example. I have a friend of mine who is a pilot. She flies Lion Airline. She flies Boeing. Every 6 months, she goes to Ethiopia and she's put into a simulator. She goes into like a video room, like playing a video game. So they test her on flying abilities using a simulator. And as she's flying in that simulation room, they bombard her with various risks that you are likely going to encounter when you fly. Okay, maybe heavy wind, too much rain, signal cut off, several other things that are likely going to be able to occur at one time in your flying experience. You find that these ones, she's tested through all those things. And what she told me is that it's a very serious exercise that if one fails, they may not be allowed, in some cases, to fly. They revoke the license. Just an example of training. They are trying to upskill someone Okay, and then you can plan the learning experience where, as you design the overall structure of the HRD programs, including the sequence of learning activities, the timing and duration of training session and resources. Okay, for how long should this training be? 1 week, 2 weeks, 1 month, 2 months, 1 year, 3 years, depending on various factors. And then you look at when we train people, we must now also be able to know how to assess them. Development of assessing tools, where you create tools and criteria to evaluate the progress of the learner and the effectiveness of the HRD program. If the learner is learning this program, how do we know that there has been transfer of knowledge? That also becomes an important component of human resource development. There must be transfer of knowledge, that the employee must now be able to acquire new skills and be able to display them wherever they go. Remember, we're dealing with the RD model. We've looked at the analysis. Now let's look at the development. In the development phase, the HRD programs are brought to life. This phase involves the creation of all necessary training materials and resources based on the blueprint developed during the design phase. The key activities at this stage include developing training content, where now you create or source the content that will be used in the program. You can come up with training manuals, you can come up with e-learning modules, you can come up with case studies, presentation, and other instructional materials. Then, once your training manuals are ready, you're not expected just to roll out. No. What you may end up doing at some point is to pilot it. You try a few people. You pilot the trainings. Then once you pilot the trainings, you are going to be able to get feedback. And should there be a need for you to do adjustments on the training, you can engage in those adjustments. Then once that is done, you can finalize the resources and ensure that all material, facilities, and technology tools are ready for the program implementation. Now, after development, you go to implementation. Remember the RD model. The implementation now is where the human resource development program is now rolled out, operationalized to all staff. The implementation phases where it's very critical. It's making it happen now, making the HRD happen. So you facilitate the learning. You conduct training sessions. Now, when I say you, I'm not necessarily that you as HRM personnel, you're going to train everybody. No. Remember, this is what your most common structure is going to be like. What I want to make clear is that you as an HR, basically what you are basically a consultant. As an HR person, you're basically a consultant. Yes, coming. Gabriel?
Yeah, 290.
Where is it?
The MH 290.
I see.
Sigma.
Yeah. So remember that the training that is being the human resource development program is targeting everybody else. The accounting staff, the marketing staff, the procurement staff, the operation staff. So I always say that HRM in HRD, HRM is a consultant who provides advice to those ones. So that's why you facilitate training. People want training, you facilitate. You get trainers in conjunction with the line managers, you get trainers to do the training. You come up with workshops or other development activities. And this may involve HR trainers, external consultants, and online learning platforms. You can also engage participants where you encourage active participation and the engagement from learners to maximize the effectiveness of the training. You are going to provide support where you offer additional resources and support to participants such as coaching, mentoring, and follow-up sessions to reinforce the learning and the application. So, yes, you conduct an analysis, you design the training, there's the analysis, design, develop, implement, and evaluation. Having implemented the training, once the training has been implemented, the next thing that you need to do is to evaluate it. So the final phase of the ADDIE model is the evaluation, and it involves assessing the effectiveness of the HRD program in achieving its objectives. Evaluation can occur at various levels. You can do the evaluation in what we call reaction, where you measure participants' immediate reaction to the program. You can come up with a questionnaire at the end of the training session to find out whether or not they are happy with the participant, with the knowledge that they've learned. Sometimes you can even include assessing the extent to which they are happy with the facility where their lessons were being conducted. Okay. And then also, you can engage in learning where you are assessing the extent to which participants have acquired the intended knowledge, skills, and behaviors as a result of HRD program. Yeah. And at that particular point, you are also looking at the behavior. You are evaluating changes in participants' behavior. What is happening is that if you are a receptionist, maybe you don't have to use that word, maybe use the word front office manager. If you are a front office manager, okay, you're laughing, it's too much. Eh?
No, I like that.
Yeah, some organizations, that's what they do. They call you front office manager, not receptionist. Or inquiries are front office manager. Okay? Yeah. If you are a front office manager, and if your organization is receiving so many queries, complaints per se, if customers are complaining that they are not being assisted by the front office manager, perhaps in a day, maybe out of the 20 people that come to visit the office, 15 or 16 are complaining. If you have got that situation, what technically it means is that there could be some skill gap that the front office manager has. Hence, they have his or her inability to assist the customers to their satisfaction. Now, under those circumstances, what might be needed is that the person must be trained, must undergo through training. So when the training is conducted, you want now to see the extent to which that training has enabled the holder of the office acquire skills that are going to be able to enable him or her to manage the customer service issues. And if after the training the complaints are not reducing, then you wonder why. Because the expectation is that after the training, the number of complaints drop. Maybe initially with 3%, but incrementally with 10, 50%. That out of the 20 people that visit the front office, initially you had the 15 complaints. Now you want to reduce them to around at least 5 or 4. Because obviously you must know that there can never be a situation where you have 0 complaints. There will always be complaints. There will always be someone else complaining. But you want them to be within manageable range. That's what you want. Now, yes, we have looked at the entire way in which the HRD has to be operationalized. But let's look at how you can identify training needs. As I said earlier on, that the training needs must be only those needs that are going to be able to act as an intervention to skill gap. Identification of training needs is fundamental component of the human resource development process, serving as a foundation for effective training programs. So by systematically identifying where training is required, HRD practitioners ensure that development efforts are targeted, relevant, and aligned with both organizational goals and individual employee growth. Now, one thing you must understand is that this whole component of training is not cheap. HRD usually has its own budget. So organizations spend money in training employees. So if it is not properly done, for instance, if employees go and get the training in whatever area, but if it does not seem to be able to benefit the organization in one way or another, that will be very much problematic at all costs. So that's why we are saying that for you to be able to identify training needs, you must be able to conduct this organizational analysis. Because you want to make sure that the training acts as intervention to performance problems that are being experienced at that particular time. So organizational analysis is the first level of identifying training needs and involves a comprehensive examination of organizational strategic goals, mission, and the external environment in which it operates. The objective is to understand the broader context and identify the skills, knowledge, and abilities necessary to achieve organizational strategic objectives. I think I explained this earlier on. Yes. Yes.
When you were explaining about the AD model,
yes,
you started with analysis.
Yes.
Under analysis, there was organizational analysis.
Yes.
So now you have started explaining about identifying training needs.
Yes.
So I think I don't know. During the time the human resource department is analyzing the organization.
Human resource development, yeah.
Yes.
Human resource management.
Yes.
Department, yes.
Is analyzing the organizational analysis.
Yes.
Do they consider also the training needs during this period, or maybe it's an after thing?
Okay. What I presented earlier on is the same as this one. It's not that you do an organizational analysis at that time and then you look at the AD model and then you do analysis. It's only that when we explain it, we explain it in bits. This and the other one is the same. Okay? Because even here, you see that we're doing the task analysis and we're doing the activity analysis. Yeah, so this and that one is the same. Only that here now we are zeroing in. Yeah.
Meaning to say that this looks at the budgeting side, whereas the first analysis is only looking at the employees' gaps of skills and competencies.
No, they are looking at both. Only that this one is more detailed than the first one. It's the same one, but this one is more detailed. Why am I saying this? If I take you back, I'm just introducing what the AD model does and what the analysis is all about. But now here, I'm now saying the purpose of that analysis is to identify training needs. Are you getting the point? That first I was just trying to illustrate the adding model. But now I'm now zeroing in to say the purpose of the analysis is to identify training needs. So to identify training needs, now I'm zeroing in detail. This is what you need to do. So I'm now zeroing in detail. And the zeroing in is this is what it says. That the strategic alignment, HRD practitioners assess how well the current workforce competencies align with organization's long-term goal. There's an example there that we can look into. If an organization aims to expand into new markets, there may be a need for additional training in international business, in cultural awareness, or language skills. Okay. You want to go and do international business, then you realize that your staff don't know if you want to go and do business in another country other than your home country, you must realize that we've never done that before. Our staff needs this training. Our staff needs to know that wherever they're going to send them, they will be different cultures, and they must be able to respond to various culture differences that are likely to come. Now, critical is what I explained earlier. Alignment. I remember at one point when I was teaching at the Library of Accountancy, my class was ABE, Association of Business Executive class. And in that particular class, we had so many students. Some came from the library service. Then I was surprised that after semester 1 ended, semester 2, out of the 5, only 2 continued, the 3 did not. So when I met them along the lines, at one time, I think they were traffic officers. I met them, and they stopped me, and then they didn't know it was me, and afterwards they discovered, and then we chatted. I said, but we are not seeing you in class. Where are you? I said, you know what? We were advised that the course we are doing, Diploma in Business Administration, does not fit well with the department that we are in at the police. So they have advised us that if we want to go to school, we can go to school. But we must do transport and logistics, because that's one that is more relevant to us in the traffic police. So at the end of the day, we were able to enroll with the course and proceeded and succeeded. Okay, enrolled the course and proceeded and succeeded. Okay. So I'm trying to give an example of a training that aligns with the organization. Somebody like me who is an instructor, one who teaches at the university, there are certain trainings that may not be relevant with the university, but there are certain trainings that are more relevant in the university, and those are the ones that I seriously pursue. So that's what we're referring to as strategic alignment. So here, the HRD practitioners assesses how well the current workforce competencies align with the organization's long-term goals. But then you also have to do environmental scanning. The environmental scanning is the example is what I gave earlier on, where I said you must make sure that you understand the macro-environmental factors, for example, perceived factors. But at the same time, you must understand markets and the competition. These are very, very important things that you must understand. As an organization, you must realize that you're not operating in a vacuum. You're operating in an environment where there is competition, especially in the external environment. There is heavy competition that you must succumb to. You must not succumb to. Otherwise, if you succumb to the external competition, you'll be destroyed. So, when you conduct an environmental study, you look at industry trends, economic conditions, regulatory changes, and technological advancement that will impact your organization. So you identify these and see if at all your staff in the organization need new competencies to combat these ones. That's what we're looking at this point. You're trying to assess the extent to which, And then you're now looking at also on resource assessment, where you're evaluating the organization's current resources, including its workforce, technology, and capital. Here you are trying to identify gaps that training programs can address. For instance, if you are adopting new technology, employees may require training to utilize it effectively. Task analysis. Here, it is also known as the function analysis. The focus is on looking at what competencies do we need to perform the tasks. Maybe I'm just referring to competencies, I can highlight a little more. In human resource management, there is what we call a competence framework. The competence framework has a provision of a list of competencies that if employees are able to master those, become competent in those areas, then you'll be assured that the organization is going to be able to succeed. Some examples are, for example, innovation. It's a competence that is seriously needed in today's environment. Teamwork is a competence that is required in today's environment. Problem solving is a competence that is seriously required in today's work environment. So these are the competences that you identify as very critical to the success of the organization. And those that are going to be able to enable you to be able to achieve what you need to achieve. So, for you to succeed in this kind of an exercise, you have to engage in looking at the job description, where you review and you analyze the descriptions, job descriptions that you have. The purpose is to identify key tasks that are associated with each role. What happens is that your thorough analysis of your job description is going to be able to help you pinpoint specific skills and knowledge necessary to perform these tasks at an optimal level. In other words, remember that critical to the organization is performance. That's what is critical to the organization. Performance. Now, performance defined in various ways. Productivity, basically, which is efficiency and effectiveness. Profitability. Profitability. It's part and parcel also of performance. Now, what we're trying to do in this context is to make sure that you have well lined out programs in a manner that will enable you to be productive, if available, to be innovative. So when you look at the job description, you might see that for someone to be able to do this work successfully, that they should be able to meet our expectation or even exceed our expectation, this individual must have the following technical skills, must have the following soft skills, must have the following job-specific knowledge. Because if they do not have the following, then you must forget it. They will not be able to produce the results that we expect them to produce. So you need to be able to conduct that kind of an assessment to identify specifically the specific competencies required and you engage in them. Performance competence mapping. As HRM, you can now send a questionnaire to all functions in the organization. And the purpose of that kind of questionnaire that you send to all functions is technically to enable you to be able to know the gaps. So mapping the competences required for each task against the existing skills of the workforce This involves identifying technical skills, soft skills, and job-specific knowledge that employees must possess. You can also look at performance standards. At that particular point, you are looking at, you're comparing standards with the desired outcome to identify gaps. For example, if customer service representatives are required to handle customer complaints within the specific time frame, but current performance falls short, additional training may be needed to enhance their problem-solving skills. I think I gave that example earlier on. What is important if you are to succeed in this endeavor is to make sure that you have been able to develop standards of performance. Do you have any question or comment at this point? Yes, we've looked at organizational analysis, but task analysis, and now let's look at individual analysis. Here, your specific target is the person, the individual. Individual analysis focuses on assessing the current skill level of employees and identify the gaps between their existing competencies and those required by their roles. This level of analysis is essential for tailoring training programs to meet the required unique needs of each employee. What you might do at this point is to assess the skills of these individuals. So, conducting a skill assessment is crucial. Skill assessment or competence evaluation is very important. You want to assess the extent to which the current workforce has or possesses the desired competences. And any gaps to such is what provides the basis through which you can now be able to design HRD programs. What I'm saying at this particular point is that it is not good for you just to borrow training needs of another organization. I think that's the most important thing that we're talking about here. There has been a tendency by some managers to just borrow training needs from another organization and bring them on board. It doesn't have to work that way. You don't just have to borrow something from somewhere. The training needs have been generated and they must be tailor-made. They must be so specific and unique to the gaps that exist in the organization. Because if you just borrow somewhere else, you might realize that whatever you borrow does not specifically fit your context. Unfortunately, that is likely not to be able to happen if you're not very careful. You must also understand that performance management system of an organization, we've not covered that in detail, but there will be a time when we're going to be able to cover the performance management system. You must be so cautious that performance management system is very, very critical in helping you identify training needs. Because in performance management system, there is a component of appraisal. There are performance appraisal, which enables you to be able to review performance of the individual employees in specific identified areas. We'll be able to enable you to identify the existing skill gap, where employees are underperforming or where they could benefit from further development. This helps you pinpoint specific training needs that will enhance the effectiveness. Ultimately, you also have to be able to target the issue of career development goals, where you are aligning training needs in the career aspiration of employees. By understanding employee career goals, HRD practitioners can design training programs that not only fit skill gaps but also support long-term career development, leading to a higher employee engagement and retention. Do we have any questions or comments at this point? I hope you are able to follow what human resource development is all about.
Yes. Sir.
Yes.
I just need to understand.
Yes, go ahead.
I would like to hear from you.
Yes.
From this topic we are just learning about human resource development.
Yes.
There's a section where you're talking about individual analysis, where you look at the individual employee
Yes.
skill gaps and
Yes.
how they're going to develop it. So,
Yes.
assuming that maybe that particular organization has a new technology, or would like to introduce a new system of how to operate things. So it has been introduced to the employees on how to do those things or how to use that technology. And after conducting the performance appraisals, the department has realized that the employees are not getting to their expectation.
Yes.
Yet that development is it's a necessary thing for that particular organization. So if the human resource department continues with that, it's going to cost the organization. What advice can you give to the human resource department?
Okay. That's why we're talking about it. We've said earlier on that every HRD program requires an evaluation. Okay. That evaluation is very important because it will tell you whether or not the employees are getting from the training. The program is actually producing benefits to the organization. And from that evaluation, you can be able to assess why there is no improvement. There could be several factors. It could be that perhaps, number one, you have brought in people who are not trained. Because to bring people to training, there are also other factors. And one of the factors that is very important in ensuring that people go for training is what we call trainability, because cognitive ability. Somebody must have the intelligentsia to be able to be trained. There are some organizations having conducted a cognitive ability assessment. They can say, this one should not go for training. Rather, let's change the department or let's see, retrench them. Because our assessment shows that they cannot catch up. There are those situations where trainability assessment can show. So, assuming you never conducted that kind of an assessment, you've brought in people who cannot be trained, who are not trainable, the others who are not trainable. That will happen. That's one part. The other part, remember, HRD requires a content design. Okay. There are some situations where you have content that was not properly designed. So if you have got content that was not properly designed, then you have a problem. So you need to ensure that the training that people are going to, content is well designed, simplified, designed not like an examination for people to pass or fail, but designed in a manner that is going to be able to transfer skills from the trainer to the employee. You can also look at those things. To answer your question, if HRD discovers that there is no real benefit that is coming, they can change their strategy, training strategy. I'll tell you, that also happens in this country. There are a lot of people that are sent abroad for training on short-term and long-term courses. But it is very little for us to show that we've got these people that went abroad for the core training. If you look at that very seriously, you realize that that could be as a result of so many factors, including we don't provide a good platform for the people when they come. However, what you must understand is that there is a general concept in this country about training. Because when you go to training, you're off work, but at the same time, you get allowances. People now tend to focus on the off work and allowance than acquiring the knowledge. And the fact that when they come back, we don't hold them accountable. Then as a country, we have lost a lot of money in the area of training. Yeah. I hope I've answered the question. Sometimes the HRD will translate into you directing someone else to pursue a particular career. Sometimes that which they never thought about. Aligning training needs with clear aspiration of employees. Remember, an employee, you ask them, what do you want to do? I remember when I was working for one organization, they had employed a guard. He was a young boy and he was manning the gates. And one of the bosses, a white man at that time, came by and said, oh, You're a new recruit, yes. Right. Are you okay? Are you happy? He said, yes. I'm fine because I found work. Because at first I was not employed, so I didn't have an income. But I don't want to be a guy the rest of my life. Okay. So he asked, then what do you want to do? What do you want to become? He said, I would like to become a driver. I said, fine. After 1 year, the organization had sponsored this individual to go to a driving school to learn driving. And he was able to learn how to drive. And he succeeded, he was brought to do and was given a car to drive. And then up until the time when I was leaving that organization, this was one of the most reliable drivers in that organization. I'm trying to give you an example of career development. Sometimes someone might go to an organization because out of poverty, just decide to grab any piece of work that's available. Having access to them, you can decide to say, this is where you must go. My English teacher in secondary school usually said that he never thought at any point that he was going to be a teacher. But that at that time when they had just joined civil service, government had shortage of teachers. So there was a scholarship for them to go to college, I don't know, abroad somewhere else, but to learn education. So when you look at the pros and cons, you say, hey, let me go abroad, whatever, we signed for it. And went wherever he went, got a degree in education, came back, posted to become a teacher. And he was teaching until his death. But he told actually the class, this is a different career, totally different from the one that I thought about earlier on in my life. I never thought I was going to be a teacher. So this is what we're referring to, say, sometimes HIMD practitioners can develop training programs that not only fill skill gaps, but also support long-term career development, leading to higher employee engagement and retention. What we must understand is that despite the fact that these three levels, organization, task, and individual level, seem to be isolated, but it is very important for us to understand the fact that these can easily be integrated. And integration of this is somehow encouraged. That's why we say that the thorough identification of training needs involves integrating the insights gained from original tasks, organizational tasks, and individual analysis. The holistic approach ensures that the HRD programs are comprehensive, addressing the needs of the organization as a whole, and the requirements of specific roles and the development of individual employees. And by aligning these three levels, HRD professionals can design training programs that are strategically relevant, the ones that are able to enable the organization to pursue its mission and vision, but also not only that which are operationally efficient, effective, ensuring that employees possess necessary competencies to perform their tasks efficiently and meet performance standards, and also individually tailored, where you are providing targeted training that meets the specific development needs of employees, fostering continuous learning and career progression. I will look at, because we're still waiting for what you can do so that I don't exhaust a lot that I'm going to be able to cover in the afternoon. But as we are waiting for this gentleman who's supposed to come, I can give you a small exercise. Yeah. This is a question. We'll give you a small exercise. I'll be with you. And then we'll meet at 1 o'clock normal class. And then on Thursday we'll be with Hey, what's it? But your friend is Francis. So where is your madam? This lady, Grace. She's not here today. think they were busy. They had a very busy program at the church. Okay. I have your email, is it? Do you have your email?
Yes.
Okay. Let me just send it now so you can share. Your email is what?
Vincent Point
Oh,
15.
okay. What?
Vincent Point 15.
Vincent.
Monigan.
Bullion.
15.
B-L-I
R-A-N-I.
R-A-N-I-A 15.
At Gmail.
And you?
Francis, let you go. Jim.
F small letter.
Yeah.
Francis.
And to go.
Huh?
And to go.
Ed. Go. Yeah, I think I have it. Okay. Case study.